Hello, esteemed gentlemen. Power isn't lost in a single act. It leaks through small habits that look harmless. Every Sigma thinks they're too sharp to bleed energy until they do. See, your aura isn't something people see. It's something they feel. It's the invisible temperature in the room when you walk in. But here's the twist. That same invisible force can decay quietly, like battery drain you don't notice until your presence feels ordinary. And that's the tragedy. Most Sigmas don't lose their power in one dramatic meltdown. They lose it in daily micro-habits, the over-explaining, the unnecessary reactions, the subtle self-doubt disguised as self-improvement. One slip at a time, and the silent dominance becomes just silence. Studies in behavioral psychology even show that charisma and perceived authority drop when a person begins over-rationalizing their behavior or explaining their intent. Translation? The moment you start managing your image, you've already fractured it. So before you turn into another mysterious loner people scroll past on autopilot, let's dissect the habits that quietly murder your Sigma aura, one polite, self-sabotaging move at a time. And if this feels like an intervention, good, because some of you have been accidentally normal for too long. Number 1, oversharing online. Oversharing online is one of the fastest ways to drain your Sigma aura. Every time you post, explain, or express every emotion in real time, you strip away the scarcity that gives your presence its pull. The Sigma energy thrives on distance, not arrogance, but unpredictability. When people can easily read your moods, your routines, your struggles, they stop wondering about you. And when curiosity dies, magnetism follows. Social media tempts even the most private people. It promises connection, but often trades it for exposure. You start posting your thoughts because you think you're being real or transparent, but what you're really doing is overexposing your inner frequency to people who haven't earned access to it. Once the world can scroll through your mind, you've turned your depth into a public diary. That doesn't create intimacy. It creates familiarity, and familiarity is the death of allure. The Sigma aura was never meant to be constantly visible. It's built on the principle of selective revelation, showing just enough to spark intrigue, but never enough to be fully understood. Oversharing reverses that dynamic. It gives away your unpredictability and replaces mystery with constant availability. You become accessible, and accessibility kills mystique. People stop speculating about you. They start assuming they already know you. There's also a deeper loss. When you overshare, you begin to perform. You start curating your life to look interesting or authentic, which ironically makes it artificial. You begin thinking in posts instead of moments. Every thought becomes content. Every emotion becomes branding. The Sigma, who was once guided by inner truth, starts chasing outer engagement. You lose the sacred privacy where your real transformation happens. The harsh truth is this: the more you show, the less you're felt. Real presence doesn't need visibility, it needs energy. When you withdraw from constant exposure, your silence becomes louder. Your words gain weight because they're rare. Your actions become unpredictable again. The Sigma aura isn't built through visibility. It's built through absence that makes people wonder where you are, what you're thinking, and why they can't stop trying to figure you out. Number 2, overthinking strategy. Overthinking strategy is the silent killer of Sigma energy. What makes a Sigma magnetic is their ability to move with instinct, sharp, unpredictable, and calm under pressure. The moment that instinct gets replaced by constant calculation, the whole aura collapses. It's like trying to choreograph a lightning strike. You lose the natural edge that made people sense your power in the first place. When you start analyzing every move, what to say, when to speak, how to respond, You disconnect from your natural rhythm. You become mechanical. People can feel when your energy stops flowing and starts computing. It's the difference between confidence and performance. The Sigma's presence doesn't need approval. It simply is. But overthinking turns every action into a self-conscious act of strategy. You start playing chess with yourself instead of life. The real danger is that over-strategizing feels smart. It makes you believe you're in control. But in truth, it's driven by fear. Fear of being misunderstood, rejected, or losing your mysterious grip. That fear poisons the Sigma essence, because true control comes from detachment, not prediction. When your brain is busy predicting outcomes, you stop being. You lose that quiet unpredictability that makes people hesitate before crossing your path. What people don't realize is that the Sigma aura is born from trust. Trust in your timing, your intuition, your inner frequency. When you start needing logic to justify your every move, you're signaling to the world that you no longer trust yourself. And once self-trust fades, dominance follows. Some Sigmas fall into this trap after success. They start asking, "How did I do it last time?" and begin engineering what used to come naturally. The aura turns from raw presence into formula. Suddenly, every word feels rehearsed, every decision delayed. The world moves, but you're still calculating angles. That's when your silence stops being powerful and starts feeling awkward. The truth is, the Sigma's most dangerous weapon has never been strategy. It's timing. Their ability to act without warning, to decide without panic, to move without hesitation. Overthinking takes that away. It replaces power with pause. And once you start pausing for too long, your aura stops leading. It starts following. Number 3. Abandoning spiritual depth for efficiency. When a Sigma starts chasing efficiency over meaning, their aura begins to fade. The Sigma's strength has always come from balance, being both grounded and soulful, logical yet deeply intuitive. But when they get too focused on results, optimization, and productivity, they start shedding the very essence that made them magnetic in the first place. They trade depth for speed. And that's how the aura begins to die, quietly, rationally, in the name of getting things done. There's a difference between discipline and emptiness. Discipline gives your life structure. Emptiness gives it nothing but repetition. Some Sigmas fall into this mechanical rhythm of self-improvement. Wake up, grind, check goals, move on. They stop pausing to feel the weight of what they're doing. Life becomes a checklist instead of a current. They start confusing being emotionless with being strong. But strength without depth is just control, and control without purpose turns cold. The Sigma's aura was never built on hustle alone. It came from alignment, with something higher, something that couldn't be measured or proven, but could be felt. When you lose that connection, you stop radiating energy and start emitting exhaustion. You become sharp but hollow, calm but lifeless, efficient but soulless. Many Sigmas don't even notice it happening. They think they're evolving, cutting away distractions, streamlining, simplifying. But in the process, they cut away their wonder, their curiosity, their emotional color. They stop asking why and focus only on how. The Sigma who once saw patterns and meaning in everything becomes just another executor of tasks. And no matter how organized or disciplined they appear, people can sense it, the loss of spirit. The aura doesn't disappear overnight, it just loses its pulse. Power without depth never lasts. The Sigma's calm confidence used to come from knowing they were part of something bigger, a quiet awareness of rhythm and timing that felt almost spiritual. When that awareness dies, they may still look composed, but the silence around them feels heavy instead of magnetic. The truth is, the Sigma's greatest weapon has never been perfection. It's presence. Once they abandon the soul that made them unpredictable and human, They stop being powerful and start being programmed. Number 4, being too unaffected. When a sigma starts becoming too unaffected, they cross from strength into stillness that feels dead. The sigma's calmness is supposed to draw people in, not drain the air out of the room. But when detachment turns into emotional frostbite, their energy stops radiating. It flatlines. People no longer feel their quiet confidence. They just feel nothing. And nothing is not mysterious. It's lifeless. The danger is subtle because it often starts as protection. Sigmas learn early that emotional control keeps them untouchable. They realize that reacting too much gives others power, so they shut off their responses bit by bit. But in trying to avoid emotional chaos, they sometimes end up avoiding emotion itself. They stop letting things move them. They stop letting life touch them. That's when calmness becomes a coffin. Being unaffected might look powerful on the surface, but real power has pulse. It's the ability to stay composed while still feeling everything deeply. A Sigma's intuition, one of their deadliest gifts, comes from sensitivity, not indifference. The moment you shut down emotion, you also shut down instinct. You can't read a room if you can't feel its temperature. You can't understand people if you've turned off empathy. And that's the paradox. Trying to be too unaffected actually disconnects you from the very awareness that made you dangerous in the first place. People begin to sense the difference. They no longer feel your tension, your depth, your quiet fire. They stop seeing you as powerful and start seeing you as distant. Even your silence, which once commanded respect, starts feeling awkward instead of authoritative. You turn from mysterious to mechanical. True composure isn't the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. It's being able to feel chaos and still stay in command. When you numb yourself, you don't rise above emotion. You simply exit life. The Sigma aura thrives on contrast, still waters that hide deep current. When you kill that current, all that's left is surface. And surface doesn't hold power, it just reflects it. Number 5, responding emotionally to mediocre minds. When you react emotionally to people who operate on a lower frequency, you instantly level yourself with them. That's how power leaks, quietly, invisibly, through the trap of reaction. A Sigma's strength lies in emotional precision, knowing what deserves their energy and what deserves nothing but silence. But the moment you let a mediocre mind pull you into its noise, you become a participant in their smallness. You start fighting in mud, and even if you win, you still end up dirty. People with shallow motives feed on reaction. It gives them a sense of importance, a feeling that they've touched something beyond their reach. When you respond emotionally, defending, arguing, explaining, you become their source of validation. They didn't need to defeat you. They just needed to make you flinch. And that flinch costs more than you think. It tells the world that your self-control is negotiable. A Sigma's silence isn't avoidance, it's filtration. It's the art of starving nonsense of the attention it needs to survive. You don't destroy weak energy by fighting it. You erase it by denying it an audience. Once you react, you've acknowledged it. Once you acknowledge it, you've empowered it. That's why Sigmas are dangerous when calm, because no one knows if they're unmoved, planning, or simply done. That uncertainty creates psychological distance, and distance is dominance. Reacting emotionally also sends a different signal to people who do respect you. They start sensing inconsistency. They see someone who preaches control but bleeds reaction. And that's when your aura begins to lose its weight. You stop being the storm that chooses when to strike and start becoming another voice in the thunder. The truth is, not everyone deserves a reaction, and not every insult requires a response. Some minds are too small to argue with. You win by not noticing. The Sigma's real power isn't in proving superiority. It's in being too elevated to engage. Because once you start sparring with mediocrity, you're not a Sigma anymore. You're entertainment for the unremarkable. Number 6. Being predictably unpredictable. Being predictably unpredictable is one of the easiest traps a Sigma can fall into. It starts as rebellion, a refusal to be controlled, a desire to stay untamed. But when people begin to expect your unpredictability, you've already been mapped. What was once mystery becomes a pattern, and patterns are readable. The moment people can anticipate your defiance, you've lost the very chaos that made you fascinating. Real Sigma energy isn't about constant rebellion, it's about choice. It's the ability to switch between invisibility and presence with precision. When you're always unpredictable, you're no longer strategic, you're just reactive. People know you'll resist, oppose, or vanish because that's your brand now. That predictability weakens your psychological edge. You stop being unreadable and start being expected. And when expectation replaces uncertainty, your aura loses its voltage. True unpredictability isn't about being chaotic. It's about being calculatedly inconsistent. The Sigma knows when silence is louder than confrontation, when agreement disarms more than rebellion, when staying still creates more disruption than movement. That's what makes them dangerous. No one can measure their rhythm. But if you're always trying to shock people, you're not mysterious, you're performative. You've turned authenticity into theater. People start watching you for entertainment instead of trying to understand you. They expect your next move, even if it's an unexpected one. You become your own formula, the rebel, the loner, the wild card. And when identity becomes costume, your essence dissolves. The Sigma's real power lies in stillness with intent. Sometimes the most unpredictable move is to be completely ordinary for a while, to blend in, to observe. Because the moment people think they've figured you out, that's your cue to shift frequencies. Mystery thrives on contrast, not chaos. The truth is, unpredictability loses meaning when it becomes your only language. The Sigma, who can choose peace when provoked, discipline when tempted, or silence when expected to roar, that's the one people can't decode. That's real unpredictability. Not rebellion for its own sake, but freedom from pattern itself. Number 7. Trying to look intimidating. Trying to look intimidating is one of the quickest ways to dismantle your Sigma aura. The very act of trying exposes insecurity. True power doesn't announce itself, it radiates quietly. When you deliberately project dominance, people sense the effort behind it. They don't feel your strength. They see your need to be seen. And need is weakness disguised as control. The Sigma aura was never meant to be theatrical. It's not about sharp glares, forced silence, or overly serious postures. It's about a kind of self-possession that doesn't require validation. When you start adjusting your body language, tone, or expression to appear hard or untouchable, you've turned power into costume. You're not exuding confidence, you're cosplaying it. The more you try to look intimidating, the less intimidating you become, because real presence is never staged. People read authenticity faster than words. They can tell when stillness is natural or when it's scripted. The Sigma's calmness feels different because it's unbothered, not performed. When that calm is replaced by conscious tension, it sends the opposite message. It tells people you care how you're being perceived. That small detail flips the energy from dominant to defensive. The paradox is that the most intimidating people rarely aim to be. Their silence isn't a tactic. It's a reflection of self-control. Their stare isn't a performance. It's observation. Their minimal words aren't calculated. They just don't waste them. That's what unsettles people. The absence of effort. When you try too hard to project strength, you lose depth. You become surface-level power, loud, rigid, predictable. Real dominance is fluid. It can laugh, it can relax, it can disarm without losing gravity. The Sigma doesn't need to prove danger. It's embedded in their restraint. Power without peace is just aggression, and aggression is cheap. The truth is, intimidation should never be your goal. It should be your side effect. When you know who you are and stop performing that knowing, people feel it. Your silence starts speaking for you, your presence commands attention, and your lack of need becomes the loudest form of power in the room. Number 8. Overprotecting your image. Overprotecting your image is one of the most subtle ways to weaken your Sigma power. The moment you start obsessing over how you're seen, you shift from leading energy to chasing perception. That shift is invisible to most people, but not to those who can feel it. The Sigma aura depends on inner gravity, not outer management. When your focus moves from being authentic to being approved of, your calm turns into control, and your confidence becomes a mask. The need to control your image comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, misjudged, or misrepresented. But here's the hard truth. You can't be mysterious and manicured at the same time. The more you curate your presence, the less people trust it. Authenticity has flaws. It has cracks. It's human. When you start polishing every side of yourself, you lose the rawness that makes you magnetic. You start giving off trying too hard energy, the kind that repels respect instead of commanding it. The Sigma's strength comes from detachment, not perfection. They understand that perception is just reflection. Everyone sees you through the lens of their own limitations. Trying to fix every misunderstanding is like chasing your shadow, exhausting and pointless. When you stop defending yourself, your silence becomes your statement. That's what makes a Sigma different. They let misunderstanding ferment into mystique. They know that confusion can be power when handled with patience. But overprotecting your image traps you in performance mode. You start editing your emotions, sanitizing your opinions, walking on eggshells around perception. That tension leaks into your energy. Instead of radiating quiet authority, you radiate insecurity disguised as discipline. You become predictable, safe, polished, and forgettable. The Sigma doesn't build reputation. They evolve beyond it. People end up respecting them not because they managed their image perfectly, but because they refused to participate in that game. The world trusts what it can't fully read. That's the secret. When you stop trying to look flawless, your flaws become your edge. And that's when the Sigma aura reawakens, unfiltered, unbothered, and completely uninterested in being understood. Number 9. Ignoring humanity completely. When a Sigma ignores their own humanity, they slowly start dismantling the very thing that makes their aura powerful. It happens quietly, one wall at a time. They tell themselves they don't need anyone, don't feel much, don't care anymore. At first it feels like strength, freedom from drama, independence from emotional chaos. But what starts as protection often turns into isolation so deep that even they can't hear themselves anymore. Detachment is supposed to sharpen perception, not erase it. The Sigma's strength comes from understanding people on a deeper level, seeing motives others miss, and staying composed through it all. But empathy is the radar that makes that possible. When you shut down emotion completely, you cut off your ability to read people. You stop sensing tension, tone, and truth. You stop noticing the micro-expressions, the subtle lies, the emotional undercurrents that used to make you untouchably perceptive. You go numb, and numbness isn't peace. It's blindness, disguised as calm. The mistake many Sigmas make is confusing sensitivity with weakness. Feeling deeply doesn't make you vulnerable. It makes you aware. Empathy is not emotional exposure. It's emotional intelligence. It gives you data others can't see. But when you suppress your humanity, you trade your intuition for apathy. You may look calm, but inside, there's static instead of signal. You can't connect, can't decode, can't influence. You lose your social fluency, the quiet power to move people without force. Soon, that detachment becomes a cage. You stop relating to others and they stop relating to you. People sense a coldness that's not intimidating anymore. It's uncomfortable. They withdraw, not out of respect, but out of disconnection. And the Sigma who once commanded the room through subtle presence becomes a ghost no one feels. The truth is, the Sigma aura isn't about emotional distance. It's about emotional control. You don't need to cut off your humanity to stay powerful. You just need to master it. Feeling doesn't make you weak. It gives your calm weight, your silence warmth, and your energy life. Without that pulse of empathy, your aura might still look strong, but it will feel empty, and emptiness never commands respect. Number 10. Trying to teach everyone. Trying to teach everyone is one of the most subtle traps for a Sigma, because it disguises itself as wisdom. It feels noble, even necessary. You think you're helping, sharing truth, lifting people out of ignorance. But underneath that impulse often hides ego. The need to correct, explain, or enlighten people is rarely about service. It's about control. It's the subconscious desire to be seen as the one who knows. And the moment you need that recognition, you've stepped out of alignment with real power. True Sigmas don't broadcast wisdom. They embody it. Their insight is woven into their silence, their timing, their restraint. They don't push understanding onto others. They let people earn it through experience. When you constantly try to educate everyone around you, your presence stops being magnetic and starts feeling preachy. You become noise, the very thing you once transcended. Here's the brutal truth. People rarely learn from someone who talks too much. They learn from impact, from energy, from mystery. When you explain everything, you remove the gravity from your words. Your truth becomes diluted through repetition. Even your sharpest insights start sounding ordinary because you've overexposed them. A Sigma's wisdom should strike like lightning, brief, precise, and unforgettable. Not a storm of speeches trying to convince the world they're right. Trying to teach everyone also drains you. You start chasing validation from people who aren't ready to hear you. You invest emotional energy into awakening minds that are still asleep, and they'll resent you for shaking them. Meanwhile, your focus scatters, and your energy gets entangled in debates that don't matter. You stop observing and start defending. You stop evolving and start convincing. The Sigma's true strength is in letting people misinterpret them. They know that silence teaches louder than lectures. They drop one sentence that lingers in someone's mind for months, then move on. That's real influence. It multiplies without your effort. When you stop trying to be everyone's teacher, you become everyone's lesson. And that's where the Sigma aura thrives, in the quiet aftermath of what you didn't explain. Number 11. Reacting to disrespect. Reacting to disrespect is the surest way to hand your power to the person who least deserves it. The moment you start demanding respect, you're already admitting that someone's behavior has the power to define your state. That's not dominance. That's dependency in disguise. A Sigma doesn't chase respect. Their presence commands it long before words ever leave their mouth. When you start clapping back, proving points, or teaching people how to treat you, you've already fallen from the throne into the crowd. Disrespect is a mirror. It reveals more about the one giving it than the one receiving it. The Sigma knows this instinctively, which is why they rarely engage. They understand that attention is fuel, and the moment you respond, you've poured gasoline on someone else's fire. You make their words valid by reacting to them. And the more emotional your response, the more you confirm that they've hit something inside you worth controlling. People expect confrontation. They crave the chaos. But what they can't handle is the void of your indifference. The Sigma's silence doesn't mean weakness. It means the other person is irrelevant to their frequency. Nothing disrupts a disrespectful person's ego like realizing their insult didn't even register. Silence becomes the most sophisticated form of revenge. It denies the enemy the satisfaction of significance. Constantly correcting people or demanding better treatment also reveals insecurity. You're showing that your sense of worth relies on external validation. True self-respect doesn't shout. It simply withdraws. The Sigma's detachment is what unsettles people most. It forces them to confront their own smallness in the face of your composure. When you no longer need to prove you're deserving of respect, that's when everyone starts giving it instinctively. The Sigma's strength lies in emotional containment. They understand that losing their cool means losing control, so they let their absence, not their reaction, do the talking. Disrespect dies in silence, because silence leaves people alone with their own noise, and that's the loudest correction of all. Number 12. Letting routine domesticate you. Letting routine domesticate you is one of the quietest ways a Sigma loses their edge. Routine is supposed to serve you, to sharpen focus, build discipline, and create rhythm. But when that rhythm becomes repetitive noise, it stops empowering you and starts taming you. The Sigma aura thrives on movement, on mental agility, on the ability to pivot without warning. When life becomes too predictable, even excellence turns into autopilot. And nothing kills magnetism faster than mechanical living. Many Sigmas start out as explorers, constantly learning, building, observing patterns others miss. But once they find a formula that works, they often cling to it too tightly. They wake up at the same hour, think the same thoughts, take the same paths, talk to the same people, and mistake comfort for mastery. Slowly, their instincts dull. The same habits that once made them powerful now make them predictable. The fire that once burned with purpose turns into a flickering routine that serves no higher evolution. The real danger of being domesticated by routine is that it tricks you into thinking you're progressing. You feel busy, organized, consistent, but underneath your creativity is starving. Your inner chaos, the part that drives invention, rebellion, and raw self-expression, starts dying quietly. You become efficient but uninspired, stable but forgettable. You start moving like a program instead of a presence. The Sigma's magnetism has always come from unpredictability, the sense that they could reinvent themselves at any moment. When you stop experimenting, stop surprising even yourself, people stop sensing that dangerous energy around you. They start reading you like a schedule instead of a mystery. There's nothing wrong with discipline, but discipline without variation is just submission in disguise. The Sigma's life should feel alive, structured but never stagnant. Their habits should evolve as fast as their mind does. The moment you stop breaking your own patterns, you become trapped by them. Routine should be a weapon, not a leash. Use it to build strength, not safety. Because the day your life becomes too predictable is the day your aura stops feeling like power and starts feeling like captivity. Power doesn't vanish in one dramatic fall. It dissolves slowly through the quiet habits you start calling normal. Every small compromise, every time you dilute your energy to fit in, every emotional reaction to something beneath you. That's how the Sigma aura dies. Not with noise, but with surrender. The Sigma's essence has always been rare because it isn't about performance. It's about precision. It's knowing when to speak, when to disappear, when to burn, and when to freeze. You don't protect your aura by isolating yourself or performing detachment. You protect it by mastering restraint without losing humanity, by being silent without becoming numb, by staying unpredictable without becoming chaotic. The real Sigma power isn't rebellion for show. It's the quiet confidence that doesn't flinch under misunderstanding. It's the discipline to let go of anything that tries to own your mind, and the wisdom to evolve before the world can label you. Every Sigma eventually learns that maintaining the aura isn't about appearing powerful. It's about remaining untamed. You can live among people without becoming one of them. You can move through noise without losing your frequency. The moment you realize that true dominance is inward, the world stops being something to fight. It becomes something to shape. So, if you recognize any of these habits creeping into your life, don't panic. Just recalibrate. Remember what made you different in the first place. The ability to adapt without begging for attention, to observe without needing to be understood, and to lead without ever announcing you're doing it. Because when a Sigma reclaims their essence, the room doesn't just notice, it shifts. If this message resonated with you, then you already know what kind of power lives inside you. Don't let it fade. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video if it spoke truth to you, and share it with someone who's forgotten their own strength. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. Stay sharp, stay rare, stay Sigma.